In this video, we're showing you how we make some different toys in woods. So the three toys that we're showing you is how to make an aeroplane, a car, and a train. To start the process of making our toys, we begin by preparing the woods. So what we're doing, we're stack cutting, and this is a method that we use screwing together two pieces of teak, and these will be used to mark out and cut the wheels for the car and the train. So that's what you can see us focusing on now, is to mark out the designs onto the wood itself using carbon paper. We then take our other woods and we're using some lime, some mahogany as well, and we mark the rest of the designs onto the wood itself. You'll have seen in our video demonstrations that we use different methods, including carbon paper, but we also stick onto the design as well. So once you've finished marking out all of your designs on the wood itself, we then turn our attention to making some dowel. Now this is important in the process and a useful skill to develop when it comes to making not just toys but other items as well. So the first stage is to sand our wood roughly to the size that we want it. We then cut it into small lengths, and then we're using our sash clamp, but you can use any sort of metal circle, and we force the dowels through the metal circle, and that is how we make a very simple dowel for our toys. We cut it to the specific length that we want, and that'll be ideal then for attaching the wheels to the car and the train. We're working on the bandsaw and cutting the wood down to a more manageable size. We go on to our pillar drill, and that's to do the pilot holes that will be used to do our pierce work, but also the holes that will be used to feed the dowel through. All of those holes then, they need to be roughly the same size or a fraction narrower than the dowel itself. If they're too big, the dowel will just fall out, and if they're too narrow, you won't be able to get the dowel through without damaging and splitting the woods. So we're onto the scroll saw, and we scroll saw the individual wheels, and as we mentioned before, we're getting two for the price of one each time we scroll saw it. Because we are stack cutting, we're getting two of those wheels each time we cut one out. We then go on to our belt sander just to smooth off and to finish off getting a lovely round shape for each and every one of our wheels. After this, we go back to the scroll saw and we start to work on the pierce work. These are the carriages that you can see for our train. So we do the pierce work for the windows, and then the same for the train. We cut the window out first of all, and onto cutting the outline, the surround that makes up the shape. The same then with the carriages, you go back around those and cut the outline out. Onto the hand carving, and because these are toys, I'm going to carve them on both sides. So it doesn't matter which side that is being played with and used, both sides of the train and the carriages are cut out to finish them off nicely. Once we've done that hand carving on our train and carriages, that completes a lot of the preparation on our train, and we move on to our car. The same process again, we cut out the windows for our car, and it's that pierce work first of all, and then afterwards we go on to cutting the surrounds. So we cut the surround all around the outside of our car shape. Once we then have completed our outline of the car, we then go on to just a little bit of hand carving. Just to add a little bit of detail, Again, we do that on both sides, so we're not having a front and a back. We're carving both sides on our train and our car identically, so both sides are the same. That's basically the prep work done for our car, and now we can turn our attention to our aeroplane. Same method again, do that pierce work first of all. You can then cut an outline, the surround of the plane and the wings as well, and the final part of the scroll sawing is to cut out a little propeller. So we just carve around the cockpit of the aeroplane and shape the whole body of the plane and then sand it a little bit just to get a nice rounded finish. And what you can see me doing with the wings is to actually make them a little bit thinner. You can cut yours down, but I was working in basswood, line, and it's easy carving, so I just carved them all down just to get the right depth. Because basically at the moment they're a bit wide to fit through the gaps that I have scroll sawed in our plane. Onto the belt sander, and you can use this then to thin it down so those wings will fit through the body of the plane. So you just keep taking down a little bit, slowly, taking away the waste wood that you don't want until they slide nicely into the body of the plane itself. Now we are using one piece of dowel on this design as well, and that's the hole you can see us drilling, and that's to attach the propeller. So you drill a hole in the front of the plane so that propeller can be attached to a piece of dowel and eased into the hole that you've drilled out. We're then sanding the train and the car and the carriages, getting everything nice and smooth. So it's basically doing all of that preparation work so we can then go on to putting everything together. We force the bits of dowel through the holes that we drilled previously and add all of the wheels to our train, our carriages, and then on to putting the wheels on the car itself as well. As you can see from the video, I used hand pressure just to push them through. You can tap them through, but please be careful if you do try and tap them through that you don't tap them too hard and break the wood that you're trying to ease them into. You can see this is where we mentioned putting a little bit of dowel in the front of the plane and then putting the propeller on that. So that is the method that we've used to attach the propeller. We've also then measured out the wings to make sure that they're nice and symmetrical, and we add a little bit of super glue to attach the propeller and all of the wings as well to make sure that they will stay in position afterwards if they're going to be used to play with as toys. Onto then the belt sander again to do a little bit of sanding work to smooth out any rough edges and to also reduce the size of the dowels down a little bit so they're not sticking out too far. From here, it's our usual process where we add 3 coats of shellac sanding sealer followed by a finishing coat of linseed oil mixed with beeswax. As you can see here, I'm using simple eyes. This will be used for connecting the train to the carriage. So I have to open up those metal eyes a little bit so they're going to be able to clip into one another. Screw them into the carriages and the trains, and then your train fits together. So there we go, that's the simple process for how you can make 3 different toys in woods. Let us know in the comment section which one of those is your favourite and which one do you plan on having a go at making yourself. Thank you again for watching. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell so you know when we upload another video. And we'll be back again soon with more videos.